Trustee Desmond.
I asked for this to be put back on the agenda because I believe there's a lot of questions left unanswered from the last meeting. The facts are not in dispute by anyone here. Over 15 years ago, the village board voted to allow a private company use a village property to operate a towing and vehicle storage facility. Now, nobody disputes that this was a good deal for the company, including the business owners. They paid no rent or utilities over this 15-year period, which likely saved them over $1 million, and that's $1 million that could have gone to the taxpayers. We can't blame the owners of the business for this arrangement. They fulfilled the terms of the contract and made improvements to that property, and by all accounts ran a very good business. But now the owner has sold that business and is no longer involved. But we do have to wonder why such a contract was offered by board members in the first place. Why did the people of Oak Lawn have to pay the bills of a private business? Why were they responsible for the taxes on the property, and why did they not receive any rent for their property? It is no wonder people across this country are sick of the shenanigans of career politicians, and it is no wonder that the people of Oak Lawn voted 2 years ago so overwhelmingly for term limits. These career politicians must really believe that they can fool all of the people all of the time. We are being asked to approve a contract for a car towing service that the taxpayer neither pays nor gets paid for and is not affected by financially or otherwise. And therefore we, as the elected representatives of the people, should not be involved in the decision of who tows cars for the police department. This decision should be made by the police department and the village manager, free of influence or interference from any elected officials. And I would like to put on the next agenda for the ethics and legislative meeting that contracts like this are the responsibility of the respective department heads and village manager and should be kept out of the political arena.
First of all, there was a suggestion that this company saved over $1 million on water, garbage, and utilities over that 15-year period. I just did a little simple math, and that comes out to $5,555 a month. I can't imagine that their bills would have been that high. But the other thing too is that, and I think, like Trustee Desmond stated, that this should have been handled by the village manager, should have made a recommendation, and it should have been accepted. And I can tell you what, that's what happened 15 years ago. I don't think there was any influence by, I certainly wasn't aware of any influence by any board member at all on the process. And I know there's been a suggestion that maybe there was some influence by the police department. I don't know that, but I think that, the towing company certainly would work closely with the police department and the fire department, and I think they should have something to say about it. And so, the suggestion that something was wrong, I think that's the implication. I certainly don't know that, but I don't believe it either. I see three guys sitting out here that I know one thing about them. They're real hard-working guys. They're Oak Lawn residents. They've done a real nice job for Oak Lawn, and I suspect that the people that had their tows, got their money's worth. And so to suggest anything different, they're not, these guys aren't, take a look at them. They're in here in jeans and plaid shirts. They're not sitting here in suits and ties and like they walked off with some, grand prize, which is kind of the allegation. And I think it's unfortunate that's even being suggested. So, I'm not saying that, we shouldn't have a process. They actually, what they did do is they actually they had a contract. So all this was by contract, for one. And so if it wasn't by contract, it wouldn't have been legal. I know this was clearly looked at very closely by the lawyers. And I think that, I think that's fair to have a contract without a doubt, or to put it out. But what they did at the time was there was a building that was built, and they paid the mortgage. They paid the payments for it. And the suggestion, I will say this much, too, this suggestion that, you know, of whatever it was, a year or two ago, the manager saying, oh, this is a prime piece of real estate that's gonna, you know, this is at the gateway to Oak Lawn, and this should be a high-end restaurant, and this is gonna go, I think he priced it at around $600,000. Well, guess what? There's no bites on it. Nobody offered anywhere near that. I don't think they offered anything on it. And in fact, there was a couple other properties on Southwest Highway that were on the market for, let's say, several $100,000, and I think one of them sold for $100,000, one of them maybe $200,000. So this isn't some panacea. Actually, you know, quite frankly, the property's depressed, to be very, very honest about it. So, you know, if you know, again, I think that it's fine to go out and have a process, but to suggest that, you know, that anything was wrong with what happened over the past 15 years about it, I think is blatantly unfair.